So there you go. We went a lot longer on that than I expected, but I'm glad we hit on it, man, for sure. I want to get into a comment that Dane Brugler made, Tim. So if you can get me another screen grab ready, you can use the same one. Actually, give me the Halfley. Well, I don't know. Give me the LaFleur and Halfley. There you go. Because I definitely don't want the Halfley one where it looks like he's looking like, what the heck's this guy talking about? Yeah, not that. Yeah, that's the one we want right there. So here was Dane Brugler. I seen it come across the wire earlier today. Shout out to @Hogg HOGG NFL. He's the one who tweeted it out, and I'm not sure where he got it from, but looks like it was This Is Football. Maybe it's called This Is Football Podcast. But Dane Brugler, one of the best in the business. You guys see we're using a lot of his scouting write-ups. I think he does an excellent job. He says, Dane Brugler says Will Johnson is a player who might get drafted lower than expected. Quote, there are enough question marks that a team like the Packers could end up getting a really good player there later in the first round. Let's see what he had to say about Will Johnson.
The other one is Will Johnson from Michigan, who was, I think a lot of people viewed him as a top 5 pick coming into the year, but not the questions about the long speed. And then, we talked earlier about not having the testing. He has not tested throughout the process, hasn't run a 40. Now he's supposed to work out next week for scouts. But I had a scout text me just last week about it and say, I'll bet you a lot of money he does positional workouts, but doesn't run the 40. Yep. And we might not have a 40-yard dash from him. And when it's a stopwatch position, and when you don't have a 40-yard dash from a corner, that creates some doubt. And so if Will Johnson is still available in the 20s, I don't think that should really surprise anybody. He's a good player, but there are enough question marks that a team like the Packers could end up getting a really good player there later in the first round.
All right, so there you go. I just wanted to hit on that real quick because we kind of talked about Will Johnson a little bit, right? I'm going to drop this down and go back to the big board. And I want to get your all's take on Will Johnson here, and whether you think you would be okay if somehow, some way, Will Johnson makes it to the 23rd pick. Would you be okay with the Packers taking him? Now, when we look at our big board, Will Johnson is in the 10 spot. Sign me up. Now, you look at the red boxes, that's a concern, right? The injuries have been a problem over the last 2 years. People look at Savone Revel like the injuries are a concern. Down here, you see in the 26th spot, right? I don't see that as much a concern because he's now healthy from that. And we kind of debunked all the injuries in high school and all those problems. It was from a damn car wreck is what happened in high school. It was in a really, really bad car wreck with his family and had some head trauma, this and that. Obviously, that hasn't spilled into his college career. But in terms of the ACL, he's fast-tracking to get back. But again, back to Will Johnson, when you look at him, other than the injuries, guys, in the 10 spot, PFF in 2022 was 12th best. Then he drops to 113. He drops to 114 at his position, right? But the PFF big board at the end of the college football season still had him in the 6th spot. The consensus big board still had him in the 6th spot. Daniel Jeremiah here recently in the 12th spot when he released his top 50 for the first time, right? Kyle Krabs had him at number 2 when he released his first top 100 list. Dane Brugler had him at 13 on his initial list. So the 3 people that we say we trust the most in Daniel Jeremiah, Kyle Krabs, and Dane Brugler, along with Greg Cosell, who gave him a 5-point bonus, they all say dude's phenomenal, right? The thing that's bringing him down to the PFF grades in injury-riddled seasons there. So that's one I would love to see them bring in for a top 30 visit to put my mind at ease. But if they don't bring him for a top 30 visit, Jacob, it kind of feels like he might be off their board. What do you think about Will Johnson there potentially at 23?
Yeah, it's tough because, like you said, when healthy, he's amazing. It's just that phrase I really am getting sick of hearing, when healthy. We've been plagued by that phrase on both sides of the ball for quite a while, and I think most teams are. We always look at the Packers as if like we're with a magnifying glass, and we don't realize that the other teams are a lot of times going through the exact same stuff we are, but we're just so focused on what we know and what we see every day and what we read and what we harp on. But me personally, if I'm the GM of the Packers, Will Johnson's completely off my board. He's got too many different injuries. Unless he really does fall like into the 2nd, then great. But for me, if he's supposed to be around the 10th pick and he falls to the 23rd, you're still taking that much more risk on a first round guy that I don't believe the injuries dictate he should be a first round pick, just because, I think it was like somebody mentioned, it was 2 different hip surgeries. I think there was a few other major injuries in between there. And it's just like, I love the competition he went against. I love the way that everybody describes him. Obviously, every single person that we respect, as you just highlighted, thinks that he's a great player. It's just when healthy. And again, that phrase is kind of makes shivers down my spine.
I'm somewhere in the middle. I agree with you to an extent, especially with the sentiment that taking him at 23 would be certainly not a reach, but a risk, I think, if he falls and he's there. But I don't think I'm taking him off my board, because if he falls even later, or if he falls to the early second round, now I'm thinking a little bit. And the thing with him is, he had a minor shoulder injury last year, which is a concern because he's kind of a leaner, lighter framed corner, right? But severe turf toe. And we dealt with that with Tay Adams his last couple of seasons with us, missed a handful of games. It sounds like a really minor type of injury until you've ever had it, and it's excruciatingly painful, and it's difficult to move. So that's what knocked him out of, most of last season. And here we are, you've got guys begging him to run a 40. Well, I think I know why he's not running a 40. He's got turf toe, and it's still bothering him. So those are legitimate concerns, especially when you're talking about that position, especially when you look at his attributes and his ability to, get up and be physical and play a little press man when needed, and also be a good, feet moving, eyes on the quarterback zone cover guy. If you don't have that footwork down because you're dealing with a nagging ankle or turf toe or any of those kind of lower leg injuries, I think that's enough of a concern that I don't take him at 23. That's just my opinion.
Got it.
Not taking him off my board, but I'm not grabbing him at 23.
Got it. And for me, I think I'm on the opposite side. Like, if Goody takes him at 23, he's not worried about the injury. I think we would all agree with that, right? So if the injuries check out, yeah, but you got to get him in-house to check him out, right? So that's why I think highly unlikely at 23, but it's very, very, very interesting to think about for sure. King Tron in the chat said, Johnson's full of red flags. Like and share. Y'all appreciate that. If y'all would take a quick second, like the stream, feel free to share it with a friend. If you don't have a friend, you got a bunch of friends here. Just don't share it with us because we're already in here. So appreciate you being a member for 4 months there, Tron. You are the man. Coach Lynn said, do we worry about his speed? Coach, tonight, do me a favor, man. It could be a highlight reel. Go find Will Johnson tape and tell me if you're worried about the speed. Because I'm telling you right now, when I hear, and I think, who was it here? Somebody said, I think we already took it off there. Why would he not run? I had it marked. But anyway, said, why would he not run? Because it can only hurt his stock.
Yep.
It can only hurt his stock. Like, I understand why these guys don't run. I get it. And if you want to be one of those people that would say, well, if you're not going to run, you're not going to perform, I'm taking you off the board, I completely understand that opinion too. But if I'm a player and I'm already ranked in the top 10, the top 15, why would I run and risk lowering my stock? It just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. So I kind of see both sides of the coin there. But, Coach, do that, man. Go watch the tape and tell me if you worry about his speed, because I was thinking the same thing. Went and turned on. I think I heard Ryan talking the same thing on his pod the other day. It was like, yeah, his speed is not a problem. And he's got some stride length there as well. So, go ahead.
Sorry, Draft Buzz has him listed as a 4.56 40. Not exactly sure where that was.
Those always crack me up, man. Yeah, because it's like they're just firing from the damn hip every time.
They're watching game film with the stopwatch.
Right. Trying to clock it. Yeah. H.E. Soder says cornerback is where the run will hit after the first one not named Hunter goes. That's exactly right. Completely agree, Soder. Ron Sample says, I'm on the opposite side. I'd pick Johnson in a heartbeat. I can understand that too, man, because, again, our board's saying top 10 talent. It's mainly because the people that we trust were so high on him, before he chose not to run, right? That was the big thing. Now, is it a little weird how he said, hey, I'm going to have a personal workout. You guys come watch, and everybody gets there, and he goes, I ain't running 40. That's you could have handled that a little bit better. You could have let him know up front, like, if you're coming to watch me run the 40, I'm not going to do it, just so you guys know up front. So that's probably the better way of handling that. But he's an interesting prospect for sure, man. Watch him turn around and go like number 3 or so. Watch him go over Travis Hunter. That'd be hilarious. Wouldn't it? Just surprised everybody and just went at the top of the draft.
And then Jahdae Barron falls to us at 23. We take him. I'm cool with that.
Dude, last night, I know tonight Jacob's gonna run the mock draft tonight. We're gonna give him a shot at getting roasted online. But last night Emilio did it, and sure enough, Jacob, Jade Barron fell right in his lap. I was like, look at this crap, right? It didn't happen for any of us before.
Where did he take Dolak?
Did
he take him?
We didn't. We took your boy Torrey Horton though.
He did. Bro, did you?
I mean,
you didn't listen to the
third
show.
round, right? Didn't we pick Horton in the third?
I think so. We broke down Torrey Horton on the show. I think it was yesterday, Jacob. You need to go back and listen to it, dude. Dog.
I know. That's my guy.
Diving into that was a lot of fun, man. So I'm on the Torrey Horton train now for sure. So, all right, that's going to do it for